to Green TV, the show that focuses on independent Green Party and Green Party candidates, and positive Green New Deal eco-solutions for the economy, solar jobs, wind jobs, geothermal jobs, rail jobs, weatherization jobs, conservation jobs, efficiency jobs. On the show with us today is Gail Farrell Parker, the state vice chair of the Independent Green Party of Virginia, and Joseph P. Oddo, the state chairman of the Independent Green Party of Virginia. Thank you both for being here, and full disclosure, we've been big pals for many years and we've worked together many years, and that'll be obvious in the course of the show. Joe, please tell the audience first off, let's tell your story, Joe. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I couldn't afford my hometown school, college, Pittsburgh, but I could afford Penn State. So when I was finishing Penn State in '84, I looked around doing an internship in the state basement of the state capitol in Harrisburg because I had some interest in politics. And I already helped the independent Anderson in 1980 get some traction in Pennsylvania. So I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm looking around and the incumbent state delegate had no opposition. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm a senior in college. Can I do this? Why shouldn't I, right? So I went out, got on the ballot, and turned that into my internship to finish the college that year in '84. And it was fun. I knocked on 10,000 doors. And a week after the election, I moved to D.C. So obviously I didn't get elected, but I did win by running. And that is a key that I like to share to make sure everyone understands that we need you folks to run with us, because whether you get elected or not, we still win. We have to keep the people that are in power opposed. We have to challenge them. We have to make them answer. And that's why we do what we do, because, and that's just the beginning of the story, right, Gary?
It's the beginning of the story indeed. Now, Joe, those of us from Kentucky, we always call where you're from Pennsylvania, right? Because you're born in Pennsylvania, you grew up in Pennsylvania, is that right, Joe?
Absolutely, Pittsburgh.
And of course, much of your discipline and focus and all the hard work I've seen you do across 3 decades, I always think, well, that must be because his dad was a Marine, a tough guy.
Well, there's some things I learned and some things I learned not to do. So, but yeah, we had a really good blue-collar work ethic in the city of Pittsburgh, and the steel mills were shutting down when I lived there, and it was hard to see up close and personal, and you realize that the role that the local government does play is sometimes even much bigger than the role that the federal and the state government plays, because there were movements afoot in the city while the steel mills were shutting down, that the citizens were getting together and the steel mill workers were getting together and trying to buy the mills that they worked at so they could keep their jobs. It was a good community efforts, but when they ran up against corporate ownership and the reluctance to get rid of valuable property along those rivers in Pittsburgh, those were some unique battles that are really untold in the history of how our great nation transformed from a great industrial giant to the info technology and almost infomercial giant that we have now.
Service sector. Joe, that was a great segue. You're watching Green TV here with Joseph P. Oddo, the Independent Green Party State Chairman, and Gail Farrell Parker, the State Independent Green Party Vice Chair. Joe, if you would pick up and hold Pat LaMarche's new book, Daddy What's the Middle Class, in front of you there. You mentioned that of stories not told, and the story you just told about when the steel industry crashed in Pittsburgh. My daddy was a steel worker too, so it's something that's sheared within my memory. This book by Pat LaMarche, Daddy What's the Middle Class, tells so many stories just like that aren't addressed or aren't recalled in our body politic or in the media as we should, that we learn valuable lessons from this. Listening to your story about what happened there in Pittsburgh, you learn that folks can band together and have a positive impact whether it's in business or in the political realm. So you came to D.C. after college and to Virginia, and you pretty much stayed.
Yes, I've been here 30 years now, and the sales and sales management practice, becoming a writer, those are the things I did professionally. But you always have that back burning itch with a degree in public policy. I said, well, I got to use this somehow, right? So, we just kept running for office when we had the opportunity, and next thing you know, I bump into you out there getting signatures, and run into Gail, and we say, well, we can take on a state race, and we learn so much while we're out there, not knowing better, but we're out there doing it anyway, and it's just wonderful experiences. And yeah, it was great because some of the experiences you run into are people like Pat LaMarche here, who wrote this book. She was running for vice president of the Green Party, and she came to D.C. to challenge Dick Cheney to come out of his mansion to hold a debate with her right there at the park next to his house. I mean, she was touring homeless shelters all around the country that year. And we, as a country, she writes in this book the stories of how embarrassed we should be as a country for some of the things we've let happen. So that's why these are the kind of books, and these are the kind of people that are so vital to keeping civic organization and community development being active in the realm of political activity and what's going on with your world. I mean, this is why Pat LaMarche is a great American, because of this book and a couple others, I think she's.
Well,
Yes.
go ahead, Gail.
Yes, another good book by Pat LaMarche is Left Out in America. And I must say that what the independent Greens lack in money, we make up with in grit and determination. So Pat LaMarche is a great read, and you should check it out.
Left Out in America tells the story that Joe was just saying when Pat ran as the Green Party nominee for vice president in 2004. She toured homeless shelters throughout the United States. But this is not your Green Party campaign is much different from the two larger party campaigns. Pat LaMarche stayed in homeless shelters with homeless people all across the United States. And as a result of that, Pat LaMarche wrote in Left Out in America and Daddy, What's the Middle Class? Stories about firsthand experience with the homeless and the suffering, and the duty and the responsibility that we all have to our fellow citizens of service for political office. Now, Joe, let's go to the founding of the Independent Green Party of Virginia. You came up with so many of the fundamentals of the Independent Green Party of Virginia. You were talking just a moment ago about more candidates, less apathy. It was you that came up with that slogan and the idea, and it has, over the decades, spoken to so many people. Instantly conveys the important encouragement needed to make folks realize that sitting on the couch, their tax dollars are still being spent. Maybe they get on the ballot as an independent Green Party candidate and have a positive impact in the race. One thing I've noticed, Joe, about you being an independent Green Party candidate, whether it was for Congress or for House of Delegates or for school board, or for county clerk, which was also a fascinating race I recall you were an independent Green Party candidate for, is while the media, the mainstream media, may try to ignore the independent Green Party candidates, miraculously the incumbent knows the name of Joe Oddo.
Well, we did have unique opportunities when we had challengers that allowed us to be in the debates, even when they had televised debates for a congressional district, and it was broadcast in 4 major networks for one of the downstate District 5 race. That was a lot of fun, because you figure the challenger, the incumbent knows that I, as a challenger, I'm going to take on his policies. But one thing we did, we always kept it professional. We knew we had a good sound rationale for what we pursued in the public policy arena. And so we advocated our position. We didn't attack any of the gentlemen or gentle ladies that we were challenging. Not them personally, their issues. And sometimes they took it a little personally, but it overall was a very good experience, very professional. The first name basis with these folks now is really kind of cool, So yeah, I mean, the whole process of starting the more candidates, less apathy. When we see that 50% of the races run unopposed, that's just an embarrassment. I mean, a gentleman named Joe Stalin predicted that would happen in the United States, and that we as citizens of this country should be embarrassed that Stalin's prediction has come true. So I can't stand by. Wherever I live, I know Gail has run 11 straight times. There's no way we can just stand by and let that happen. And we encourage other citizens who are watching to please take it upon themselves to at least get active, vote for sure, but maybe join and maybe even run for office. And that's why the website we came up with way back then at the very beginning, Carrie, was votejoinrun.us. And that's what we encourage folks to do. It's been very professional, very positive. We put solutions out there that may not seem like they're getting traction, but when we carry 20,000 signatures every year down to Richmond and say, look, this is how many people signed for more trains, less traffic. Well, next thing you know, the legislators are sitting there writing a bill. Well, I guess we better extend that rail to Norfolk, better extend it to Roanoke, and look at ways to get high speed through Richmond into North Carolina and up to D.C. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because there's people supporting us, putting us on the ballot, and willing to at least sign for us to get on the ballot, and then recruit each other. I mean, we've managed to recruit dozens and dozens of people just by being out there getting signatures, haven't we?
Hundreds of candidates. And looking ahead to 2015, as Independent Green Party Chairman Joe Oddo has noted, 100 candidates for House of Delegates on the ballot. Just 2 years ago, I believe 61 of the 100 House of Delegates races were unopposed. And of course, all 40 races for state senate in Virginia will be on the ballot in 2015. Gail Farrell-Parker.
Yes, we have candidates declared already for 2015. Albert Burkhart, Isle of Wight County Board of Supervisors, Newport District. Aaron Lyles, School Board for Roanoke. Kerry Campbell, Independent Green endorsed Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, Braddock District. And myself
Gail Farrell-Parker, Fairfax County Board Chair.
And we will also see Audrey Clements, Arlington Board, School Board, Gary Blay, Tariq Salahi, Warren County Board of Supervisors. For House of Delegates, Colonel Jim Leslie, Elaine Hildebrand, 80th District, Joe P. Oddo, Jeremiah Heaton, Diane Blay, John Smith. For State Senate, Dr. Ken Hildebrandt, Terry Modulin, Steve Pryor, Dr. Brad Blanton, Janet Murphy, and others.
And the Independent Green Party Chairman Oddo continues to urge folks to join, vote, join, run. Vote, join the Independent Greens, run for office, the original slogan. And of course, the more trains, less traffic slogan of the Independent Green Party, Joe. I remember when someone out there taught us that. Standing out there and you talk to somebody for a long time and they say, oh, you mean we need more trains, less traffic? And that's just amazing, just amazing. That's why the political system, when we all invest in it, works. As we look ahead to 2016, 2015, 2016, on the transportation front, Gail Farrell-Parker, a list of the rail programs that the Independent Green Party of Virginia is advocating for.
Yes, well, first we need 8 rail car trains. We need dedicated passenger rail track across Virginia. We need rail to Fort Belvoir, rail along Braddock Road, rail along the Beltway, VRE electronic signs so we know when the next train is leaving the station. We need new tracks with more trains that run more often to more places. We need to complete the Metro Rail to Dulles. We need the Potomac Yard Metro Rail stop built. We need rail along Columbia Pike. We need to build a Purple Line, and we need the Cameron Station built.
Virginia Rail Express stop on the Cameron Station. Do want to go back to some of the independent Green Party candidates that you listed that are running for office, and just a little bit of biographical information about some of them. Colonel Albert Burkhart, who is running for County Board of Supervisors in Isle of Wight, is the Independent Green Party's member of the Central Committee of the Independent Green Party of Virginia in the 4th Congressional District. And Colonel Burkhart is a retired Army colonel. He served as a West Point professor and is a Vietnam veteran. When he retired from the U.S. Army, he went back to his hometown in Isle of Wight and taught school, and then retired from that. And now heads up the volunteer fire department in Isle of Wight. I spoke earlier today with Colonel Albert Burkhart, and Albert told me that his main platform issue in Isle of Wight County will be the light rail. And of course, as we all know, Albert's advocated for that for a couple of decades. The other person you mentioned there is the Reverend Aaron Lyles. Reverend Lyles is 22 years old, a husband and a father. Aaron Lyles is the state Young Independent Greens chairman, and he's running for school board in Botetourt County. Just some of the Independent Greens who are already nominated and or endorsed for office coming up in 2015.
Well, let's not forget two very important members of the Central Committee of this fine Independent Green Party that we have. We have Miss Parker here, who is now running for her 11th straight time. Now this, you can't underestimate the value of this, because back when she started this, we didn't really know her then either, but man, we found someone with some drive and determination. And when she got on the ballot in '06, she made a difference in that race for U.S. Senate, because the Senate actually changed hands. And some people may attest to that, to being the votes that the other parties would have liked to have had. So then we have, of course, Mr. Kerry Campbell, who's running for Board of Supervisors, and this gentleman's been on the community board. Is it the neighborhood board you're on?
The whole resume. Joe, thank you very much for that. I've been elected to the North Springfield Civic Association board. Of course, member of the North Springfield PTA, Air Force vet, accountant. Gail and I have served on the Fairfax Federation of Civics Associations, Transportation and Budget Committees.
Both veterans, I might add. Ms. Parker, Air Force veteran, retired budget analyst, correct?
Right.
Great. I mean, this is outstanding, and this is the exact professional folks that we need to continue to join us. Tell us more, Mr. Campbell.
Well, we look with optimism into 2015 for our communities, for our state, and for our nation. And of course, that's why we all get out and work every day to do our patriotic duty. Now, Gail, you've listed all of our candidates there. You've listed the rail, and of course we want to thank the crew that makes all of this possible, make Green TV possible.
Yes, we'd like to thank our volunteers, Carrie Rafter, the director, Maddie Garcia, Happy Garcia, Tremaine Johnson, and Ryan Watson. Without these volunteers, Green TV would not be possible.
Thank you all for tuning in. Chairman Joe Oddo, looking ahead now to 2016, the Green Party candidates that are out there being talked about for president. Anybody stand out in your view?
Well, I like to go back to the time when we were first advocating for the more candidates, less apathy, and we had an interesting individual who got elected governor in Minnesota. Jesse Ventura, who wrote a whole book about how one of the biggest problems the country is facing is apathy. And so this is a gentleman I would like to see. I don't know.
I'd like to see Jesse. I had the pleasure of talking and being in touch with former governor, former Minnesota Jesse Ventura, weightlifter, wrestler, movie star, a mountain of a man. And he was, of course, a Special Forces guy in the Navy SEALs. And that's the real deal right there. And not a man who shies away from controversy, and of course played a major role in building the light rail in Minneapolis that has prospered, made money, improved the community there. We were in touch in '08 when we were looking at the presidential race, and both Jesse Ventura and his wife, very nice, very kind people, very impressive people. Read today that Dr. Jill Stein is exploring the possibility of a Green Party run. Dr. Stein was the Green Party nominee for president in 2012. Most folks describe that race as inclusive and positive, and a real way to build the Green Party. I was just reviewing the CIA fact book today. And as the CIA fact book notes, the United States has only 4 truly national parties. And of course, the Green Party is the only one of those 4 that does not accept corporate dollars in donations. So Dr. Stein, a possible candidate, and of course, many people are looking and talking about the independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Advocating for expanding Social Security, calling for reasonable cuts in U.S. military spending. And of course, the Independent Green Party has long admired the efforts of the independent mayor, 3-term mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg. Gail?
Well, there are a lot of good candidates out there, and we need them all to run and to advocate for positive solutions. A lot of the positive solutions are ignored or neglected by the 2 legacy parties, and that's why we need more candidates on the ballot in Virginia and nationwide. We need someone to carry the rail banner. We need a rail advocate. It's a national issue, and in order to remove the barrier, it will take more than just Virginia to vote to remove that barrier at the congressional level. So we need a strong candidate who will raise that banner and relentlessly work to get rail built, and to couple that with renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy, and geothermal energy. Those 2 issues are intertwined, and there must be someone very stubborn that will advocate for those 2 issues.
Well, yeah.
There's a very unique component to our independent Green Party in Virginia, and that is simply that we try to associate with independents and recruit folks that want to run outside the legacy parties all around. But we don't really hold a litmus test for folks that want to run. We would love them to pick up our 12-word platform, which is very simple. You can use as much or as little of it as you want. But it is pretty important to note that there are distinctions between the underlying philosophy of this party and some of the other parties, other states, national parties. And some of it really dates back to the original founding of the Green Party in Germany. With Petra Kelly, that Mr. Campbell was able to be there to witness, he can tell us more. This was something that really does need to be emphasized in the U.S. and really what the direction of we think the green picture ought to go towards is. Tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Campbell.
Well,
you were there.
Absolutely right. Petra Kelly, of course, was a Green Party founder, the charismatic Green Party founder. When I was in the Air Force working for American Forces Network, I had the privilege to meet and get to know Petra and her life partner, retired Major General Gerd Bastian. Both Petra and Gerd Bastian were elected to the federal legislature in Germany. Petra Kelly always described the Green Party as not left, not right, but out in front. And there were always people from across the spectrum, left to right, in the Green Party, and conservatives were crucial in that. Values conservatives who came out of the Christian Democratic Party were crucial in the founding of the Green Party. I always say, and it's always been my opinion, without her great talents, her great political talents, her integrating political talents, her ability to work with so many different people and to inspire people. They would see Petra on television or hear her on the radio, and her great heart and great decency.
American University educated too, right?
American University graduate. Her father was U.S. Army's Colonel John Kelly. She born in Germany, but her father was a U.S. Army officer. Inspiring figure that really was charismatic. Now it's a new day, 2014, going into 2015, and the Green Party needs new, inspiring, dedicated folks, as does the Independent Green Party, to run and participate. I certainly believe, and I think that Chairman Oddo, as an Independent Green Party co-founder, that it is a duty to participate, a patriotic duty for us all to participate in the process. We have just a few minutes on Independent Green Party Green TV. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm Kerry Campbell with Joe Oddo, the Independent Green Party State Chairman, and Gail Farrell Parker, Independent Green Party State Vice Chair. We're going to wrap it up with that. Look forward to seeing you next time on Green TV. Thanks for watching.